Siege's brand newest operator might be a master thief, but he isn't particularly very quiet about it. And of course, well, he's Rainbow Six's 59th addition to the team, and he happens to be the very first openly gay operator, which is pretty damn cool.
Creative approach. That's where I come in.
Growing up in Buenos Aires, he used to go and rob crime lords with his awesome talents before getting picked up for Rainbow Six by Ash, and he also has a pretty damn good primary kit to go with it. Now that he's with Rainbow Six, he's got an AR-33, an SR-25, and on his hip, he's got a GSH-18 pistol, which is a pretty damn good kit overall. If that primary kit isn't enough to pique your fancy, well, he's also got stuns to get rid of ADSs and magnets, and he's got a claymore for any of those pesky jump outs or flanks, which is a pretty good secondary kit. Now that's all really interesting, but you guys want to know about the gadget, and it packs a punch. Well, it packs 4 punches in total. Known as his Rat Rose, Flores' gadget is a drone that jumps around like usual, but it's far louder than a usual drone, and can also be destroyed with 1 bullet, which is cool. But there's a lot more to it. And when I say there's a lot more to it, well, his drone is kind of like a Twitch drone, except it's got a bunch of explosives strapped to it and can take out gadgets, soft walls, and even other operators with damn ease, which is scary. All the Rataro requires is 1 press of mouse 1 before it'll plant and dig itself into the ground, wall, or hard surface. It will become impenetrable and it will explode. That's crazy. And you're probably sitting there wondering, well, where's the downside to these drones? Well, they have a time limit, and that time limit is 10 seconds before it will plant itself and explode and detonate without you really having much of a choice. There's a lot that these Rataro drones can do. I mean, let's say you haven't opened up a hatch and you have nothing left to open it up with. A Rataro drone can do that, and of course it can also open soft walls because, let's not forget, the explosion radius is pretty much exactly like a grenade, which is huge. Now, there's quite a few pros to the Rataros that Flores is able to utilize, but let's have a look at the pros and cons and weigh up what we can see. Let's talk about the most glaringly obvious pro that Flores has, and that's having more drones than anyone else in the entire Rainbow Six team. He has 2 normal drones that every operator gets, excluding Twitch of course, and he has 4 other drones that, let's say you didn't want to destroy anything, you just wanted to gain intel. That's 6 drones in total. That's a lot of intel. Now, if you're a player like Thinking Nade, you'll be able to squeeze every single little bit of intel out of each one of those drones, and that could be scary if you're a team that works really well off intel. Now, yes, okay, the intel thing seems pretty damn scary, but let's not forget he's only got 10 seconds to be able to deploy, find out whatever intel he wants before it'll explode, and, well, they become no more. Now, unless you're a Yana main, you're not really going to know how far 10 seconds is going to get you. With a little bit of practice, a lot of pros might be able to nail that one, but for now, that 10 seconds is going to take a bit of practice for players to learn how far that's going to get them. So whilst that intel is a very, very key part of the Rataros and Flores' gadget, we also have to think about the destructive power that this brings. It's not a small explosion by any means. So whilst the Rataros bring a lot of intel to that operator and their entire team, the destructive power of those drones are probably the most important part to break down. And the reason I say this is, well, it's like grabbing a frag grenade, chucking it on a Twitch drone, making that Twitch drone jump, and being able to connect with any surface that that drone can make it to within 10 seconds. Now that's a quick moment in time, but good players will be able to jump it up, be able to explode next to things like Evil Eyes, maybe some high up Banshees. There are a lot of things that you might not have explosives left to get rid of that a Rataro drone could deal with. When comparing Flores to other operators, destructive-wise, like Ash, like Zofia, etc., that will also destroy some of these gadgets, unfortunately for Ash and Zofia, they kind of have to expose themselves to get that job done. But if you're Flores, sit in a corner somewhere pretty damn safe, deploy the Rataro, and all of a sudden, you can get this job done 10 times safer. My early analysis of Flores and his Rataro drones show me that while he'll probably be used quite heavily early to mid-round to get rid of some of those sort of first-line defenses that the defense is putting up, I'm talking things like shields, Banshees, maybe there's an odd Evil Eye placed out towards the attackers, that's going to be where he reigns most useful because, let's not forget, the Rataro can die with one shot, just like a Twitch drone. Now, we all know there's been a lot of talk about the 20-second meta and, util clear meta, and well, with an operator like this, that kind of goes out the door, as well as the recent ADS changes for Jaeger. There's not a lot that the defenders are going to be able to do. And well, if they want to get rid of a Radaro drone, they need to make sure that they have the appropriate counters in hand or be in the area to shoot it, which isn't always the case. Think about a Twitch drone, for example. I mean, it can be pretty hard at high level tier play to, get your Twitch drone in a door past defenders, especially when that drone is quite loud to begin with. And well, let's not forget, Radaro drones will be just as loud as Twitch drones, so as long as your defenders are even slightly aware, they'll be able to hear it coming before it gets in.
We have been eliminated.
So this is why I kind of analysed that it would be important sort of on the front line where defenders aren't necessarily going to be sitting. Now, I've had a little bit of a think about how else we can use Radaro drones, and I discussed it with SiegeGG, and one of the really cool opportunities that they'll have with Radaro drones is, let's say it's a post-plant situation, you pull out your Radaro drone and, well, you have 10 seconds to decide to plant it next to the diffuser and blow up anyone trying to defuse. That's a pretty cool way of using it in a post-plant situation, but that's assuming that you weren't able to use it early mid-round and that you're still alive, of course. Something that I think it will also be really useful for is to get that drone on in if you're not sure you're down someone, or if you did, if you're in ranked play and you go, I really want to finish them off and I also don't want the other defender to be able to pick them back up. Send in a Radaro drone and, well, you've confirmed the kill without putting yourself in any danger. I think another area that Radaro drones will really shine is their capability to do area denial and operator displacement. And what I mean by that is simply, well, there's a lot of places that anchors can sit on this map and be pretty damn safe for most of the round. That's assuming that they might have an ADS or a magnet, but if you have a Radaro drone and they don't have a mute jammer or a Mozzie pest near them, you could just sail that drone on in, plant it right next to them, and well, there's not enough opportunity because there's only 3 seconds between plant and detonation for them to get away from you. So that's another area I think that high tier pro level players will be able to manipulate as we start to see this operator being rolled out. You can also displace or kill operators from below in easy to drone and jump positions. Like in reading, for example, there's a lot of shelves and couches that you can jump up on and stick your Radaro drone to the roof and explode underneath an unsuspecting player. This is a really good way to displace them or cause serious damage, or even better, death of your opponent. So with 4 Radaro drones to work with, there's a lot of ways that you can sneak around and take someone by surprise from below without having to get rid of really crucial explosives, ranged explosives that might need to be used for shields or banshees or evil eyes that might be spread around the map somewhere else. Now, whilst it might be nice to be able to zoom the Radaro drone on in, be able to plant next to them and kill them, that might not be a reality, but at least you've collected the intel that someone is there, follow it up with a flash and a grenade, and well, you've done the job anyway, and the Radaro drone has been able to be helpful in that situation, even if it wasn't the gadget that gets the kill. So it's kind of a twofold positive pro that the Radaro drone can give, you and your team. There are a couple of counters, of course, other than just shooting the drone, that you have as a defender to be able to stop the Radaro drones doing massive damage to you and your utility, and of course, that's going to be Mozzie pests and mute jammers. There's not a lot else that you can utilize, so make sure that if you know the other team's running a Radaro, that you at least have one of these in play. If it does get Mozzie pested, don't worry, the defenders aren't going to be able to zoom that drone back at you and explode you. It will just explode on the spot and cease to exist. However, if it gets muted, well, it'll just disable the drone, and it'd be really handy if you can get rid of that mute jammer to keep it on its course. Now, Flores seems to be a bit of a triple threat here. I mean, he's got destructive power through his explosiveness, he's got intel power through the fact that he has just got 4 damn extra drones in his pocket, and he has the displacement opportunity, whether it's area denial or entire operator displacement. I think his opportunities are huge. And whilst a lot of people might be turning around and go, well, this seems rather overpowered, I don't disagree with you. Now, you're probably waiting for the part where I get to the cons, and well, truly the only con is that you have to replace one other operator in your composition that you would usually run, and you have to be certain that you're going to be able to get these drones in, that they're not going to be shot, or they're not going to be muted or Mozzie pested, which is just like any normal drone, and at high tier play, that can be really tricky. Of course, having your drone shot really isn't the only weakness, of course. You've got to be able to identify how far you can get that drone in a mere 10 seconds before it will, explode and detonate. And I think that gives, a lot of pro players or high tier players out there the opportunity to really become skillful with these drones in ways that lower tier players might struggle with. Albeit, I will say very quickly, if you are able to master the 10 seconds and you're not going up against a Mozzie or a mute jammer, I think you'll be very, very powerful as a Flores operator. Now, there's a lot of opportunity here for high tier comp players to be able to practice Flores because, well, as you all know, it sits in the quarantine period for a few months before it comes into active competitive play. And throughout those few months, it'll give, players the opportunity to work out how does the 10 seconds sit. Are 4 drones, enough for me to be able to get in and get the job done? And if they are, how overpowered is that for us to be able to add to our composition? Or do we not really have enough space in our composition to be able to add an operator like Flores? This will all be team dependent. But considering the shield meta is still ongoing and there's a couple of other areas of, destruction and bulletproof gadgets that still need to be dealt with every single round, I have no doubt in my mind that Flores will become a mainstay of many teams, the same way that Zofia did throughout. I mean, this is the perfect, flex operator. A lot of people have been using Sledge, and now, well, maybe those Radaros can replace those grenades and Sledgehammer and be just as helpful for the teams. We'll have to see. Overall, I think when I'm looking at Flores, I see a great kit, I see great gadgets, I see an opportunity for an operator to come in and be part of the mainstay composition for high tier competitive play. Do I think at lower tiers this may be a little bit of a problem? Sure. But at higher tiers, I still think it's going to take quite a bit of skill to be able to, effectively use the Radaros that Flores has. And I mean, he's got a great kit to add to all of that. So I think he's going to be a pretty damn good operator. Well, that's all I've got for now for you guys, but make sure that you keep tuning into SiegeGG because we'll be breaking down Crimson Heist and all that it has to offer over the next couple of weeks. And we want to do so in a competitive fashion. So if you want the highest tier analysis on these operators, maps, extra gadgets and changes that are coming with this new season, make sure that you tune back in here because that's exactly where it'll be.